Welcome aboard once again to the weekly Mac Forum video chat. We started on a Monday this week because yesterday I completely forgot until about 15 minutes before the scheduled start of the show. I completely forgot that I had not posted the link for you to join in on the show if you so chose. So we had that up late this evening, and we're all set to go with our usual forum roundup, a couple of Mac OS and iOS tips, and a little bit of Apple related news. So let's dive right into things and see what's going on. First off, as usual, I want to welcome our newest member. I believe it's Rand himself, as you can see right here on the screen. And want to welcome him and all of our new members. Hopefully you're enjoying your time in the forum. I know that during the week we occasionally get some comments from members posting in the Contact Us area. That's not the best way to handle that kind of situation. If you've got a question to ask, you want to go ahead and go to the go in and become a member and ask your question. The Contact Us area is really only seen by a small number of members, namely the moderators and administrators. So you greatly increase the chance of getting an answer or a solution to your problem by posting in an area where the entire membership is going to see it if they log in during the week. All right, next, let's get right into the Apple news, and we'll dive back into the forum news in just a moment before we get around to a couple of Apple tips. I pulled up something that my wife sent me. This is from, as you can see from this website, this is dealing with, this is Jacob Siegel, and it's from January 23rd of this year. So it's recent information. I know that from time to time you will hear comments made, stories run about the working conditions that in Apple's, some of Apple's factories, some of their suppliers, and the possibility that child labor is used, underage workers and the like. And this always seems to be a point of confusion in terms of just how many there are, how many instances there are of this happening, and how Apple handles that situation. This I thought was a very well thought out, well written piece. It's not very long, okay, and it does talk a little bit about some of the things that Apple does to help support the families of people when they find out that there is an underage worker working in one of these factories. It talks a little bit about how they handle that, and that can be a touchy situation because in some situations you're in countries where, although the child would be underage by U.S. law, they're not considered underage in the country that where this is occurring. So sometimes the families will turn down the help, but this talks a little bit about how it's handled, what they put into the program over the last several years, and it's a good thing to read the next time one of your friends or someone mentions it to you. It's an interesting take on it, and basically their position is they don't tolerate underage labor. This is a quote coming from the article. We do not tolerate underage labor in our supply chain. If we find underage workers in our suppliers' factories, we make the suppliers return the children to their homes, pay for their education at a school of their family's choice, and continue to provide income for basic needs until they reach legal working age. They've also enlisted some third-party organizations to monitor the progress toward meeting this. And the article does mention that sometimes when you have families that have engaged in this practice of having underage children working, sometimes the families choose not to accept the help. That's a whole different issue altogether, and I doubt that there's a whole lot that they can do about that. But I thought would be an interesting read for those of you that like keeping tabs on this subject, and it does pop up from time to time. So that's a good read and very well written. And then this is something, same website as you can see, from the next day, as a matter of fact. Yoni Heisler. You probably, if you've been watching broadcast television or even some of the cable channels recently, you've seen some ads talking about the Google camera in their phone and some comparisons that they make to the camera in the iPhone 7 Plus. And this particular article talks about the difference and some of the differences between the two phones. And according to this, the shootout that they did isn't even close. Now, the article focuses on a particular kind of effect that is commonly used in portrait photography. That's really the topic of this particular article. The Apple variant is somewhat similar to that which was used by professional photographers for many years. And if you read the article and understand it a little bit better than I did, you can kind of understand where the idea came about that the iPhone 7 Plus handles this effect better than the Google phone. Okay, this is not talking about the overall camera. This is about a specific set of circumstances. Okay, it talks a little bit about the overall camera performance, but it's more geared toward the portrait effects and their impact on getting a good quality portrait. So if you are interested in that, and you're like many people where your iPhone camera has become your primary digital camera, you might want to take a look at this. You might be able to, using the information there, improve the quality of the portraits that you take with this, with the iPhone 7 and 7 Plus cameras. All right. And then before we go any further, I want to get you to, of course, my good buddy Kirk McLaren and the Kirkville website. And normally he's got some things about either music or Apple on his website pretty consistently. iTunes, fixes, criticisms, etc. This piece of news is one of the things that I targeted for this week because it talks about Sprint acquiring 33% of the publishing arm of Tidal, and it might create a quote-unquote game-changing partnership between Sprint and the Tidal system. Tidal, as you know, is a global music and entertainment platform, and by partnering up with Sprint, they have created a situation where some of the Tidal artists could conceivably only be available if you are a Sprint subscriber, or in some cases, I suspect, depending on the licensing, available at an additional cost. That's kind of up in the air at the moment. You know, how exactly are they going to do that? Are they going to give Sprint subscribers a lower rate, data rate, when they download Tidal products? Are they going to use Tidal as a means of driving new customers, in the sense that if you want artist A, who is part of the Tidal family, you've got to go to Sprint? That's going to be an interesting approach. We'll see how that goes. There's probably going to be some mix of licensing, because Sprint's coverage area is primarily North America. There are large portions of Europe and other places where they do not cover. So I don't, I doubt seriously that Tidal's going to give them exclusivity in those areas. So that's something to keep an eye on if you stream music, and you, in particular, if you're watching Tidal. If this works, and they can make this partnership profitable, then you may see other artists, other publishing arms tying in with other uh, vendors, with other cell vendors, so that you see these partnerships all the way along that will probably have some variation of, if you want to play our music, you have to be using our service. I'm going to keep an eye on this and see where it goes, because I suspect that a lot of people are not going to want their music choices driven entirely by what cell provider, what cell carrier they have. It's going to be an interesting thing to watch and see what the user backlash is, and how the marketing people from these various companies choose to deal with this kind of backlash. All right, let's go ahead. We'll jump kind of right into some of the tips and tricks this week. This one is something I put in. We briefly mentioned this once before, but I don't think this article was present when I mentioned it. It's things that you need to do if you are selling or giving away an iPhone, iPad, or really any of the iOS devices. And a couple of the things, I like this because it's a very straightforward, uh, not very highly technical article. Even if you're not, even if you don't consider yourself tech savvy, I think you can walk yourself through this. It breaks it down into things that you should do if you still have the iOS device, as well as things that you should do if for some reason you no longer have the device. Let's start with the things that you should do if you still have the device in your possession. Okay? One of the first things you want to do, if you're fortunate enough to have an Apple Watch, is unpair that watch with the device that you want to get rid of. You don't want to have it still paired to a device that you no longer own. Back up your iOS device, and it gives you some ideas about how to do this. Kind of walks you through the process. Okay, and then it reminds you to sign out uh, of your iCloud accounts, and then again to sign out of Find My Phone, uh, and then signing out of the App Store on that device. Each of these, this article mentions the specific steps, and then once you've signed out of all these things, you want to go to the settings area, go to General, Reset, and erase the content and settings. Okay? That's going to clear all of that content, all of the settings. You've already logged out of your various cloud accounts. That should pretty much get you back to square one. Okay? You may or may not be asked for a passcode or restrictions passcode, and then when you tap erase, okay, and then if you're in the process of transferring the service to a new owner, in other words, you want that the SIM card in that device removed from your account so that it can be transferred over to someone else's. Contact your carrier about that. And if you aren't using a SIM card, in other words, you've got one that's running Wi-Fi only, you can contact them to get help in transferring the service to the new owner. Most of the carriers will help you with that, certainly in the hope that they can get the new owner as a customer. Now, the second portion of this article deals with what to do if you don't have the iOS device any longer. And if you didn't do the steps above and you don't have the device anymore, in other words, you can't walk your way through these steps because you no longer have the device, ask the owner to erase, the new owner to erase all the content and settings by following those steps outlined above. Okay, iCloud and Find My Phone, sign into iCloud or the Find My Phone app on a different device. Select the one you want and click Erase. Basically, this is a remote erasure using Find My Phone. And then once the erasure has been completed, you're going to click Remove from your account. If for some reason you have trouble following these steps, in other words, if you're not dead certain that these steps have worked and that device has been dropped from your account, be sure to change your Apple ID password. And this won't remove personal information that's stored on the device, but it does prevent the new owner from deleting your information from iCloud. This, as we begin using more cloud-driven solutions, is something that we're going to have to think about. For a while, back in the old days, back in the G3 days, you were limited to the number of devices you could assign to iTunes. And if, for instance, you had a device that died on you and you had not had a chance to deauthorize it, died all of a sudden, or if you sold your device and you forgot to deauthorize it, you had all kinds of headaches because it still counted as one of your active devices, even though it was no longer working. Well, Apple has now fixed that problem. The solution is kind of a pain in the keister in the sense that what you've got to do is basically deauthorize everything and then go through the process of reauthorizing. But this is a little bit better if you can remember to do it, because you can work through the process on the specific device that you're trying to sell or trade or give away to a relative, however you want to do that. So I'll put a link to that in the show notes. I think that's a very helpful thing to have around. It's definitely one you want to go into your troubleshooting bag of tricks here. All right, and let's take a look at some things that are going on in the forum. Just real quickly, I want to run through just a couple of things that popped up this week. Remember MacGig had an interesting experience that some people are not really prepared for, in the sense that they looked up the name of a used car outfit near them and went to the website for that car, for that vendor, to look at some of the cars that were available. And then a day or so later, as they are on a completely different website, an ad starts to show up for the thing that they had Googled the day before. Okay? And they were wondering why this is happening. Is this some kind of malware? Is it, what's going on? Well, it's not really malware. Welcome to the world of internet marketing in the year 2017. What's happening is someone somewhere knows that this particular user went to a used car website, and so something in there says, aha, they might be interested in a used car. So the next day you go searching and lo and behold, you start seeing ads for used cars, or you start seeing ads, in your email for cars and things of this nature. The marketing is possible in part because of things like cookies, and in part because of these tracking beacons that appear in some of these web pages that kind of follow where you go as you traverse the internet. Some of the search engines track what you search for and where you go. Others, such as DuckDuckGo, do not. So if that's a concern to you, that's for you. That's one thing to look at. And I'm going to show you. I'm going to try this. I'll see if it worked. I just thought of this. I'm going to load. Watch what happens when I reload this page. All right. You can see in the bottom of the screen there, that area in purple. I've got an extension called Ghostery on my Mac. And what you see in the bottom there, I've told Ghostery, don't let these things track me. As much as you can, don't let these things track me. And that list that you saw at the bottom was all the tracking beacons that, try to follow where you're going. If you want to have some real fun, if you know somebody that's got this installed or a similar plugin installed in their extensions, try going to a website. Just pick a site that you visit. Mac Forums doesn't have nearly as many of these trackers as some sites do. Try going to some of the major third-party sites and see how many different things are trying to track where you go. Just for fun, I want to show you this is another one. Now this thread talks a little bit more about that, goes into a little bit more detail. If you're looking for some information on that, this is a good place to start. And this next little tip deals with extending notifications, the timing on notifications. And notifications, if you're running one of the recent OSs, I'm going to show you right up here. These things normally pop up, stay there for a few seconds, and go away. Look right in the upper right-hand corner of your screen. You will see what looks almost like a bulleted list. When you click on it, you can see some of the notifications that you've received recently. There you can see some of mine, a couple of news sites, tip site that I go to periodically, and this shows you a bunch of those. Now, normally they stay there for a very short period of time. They'll pop up for a few seconds after you receive them, and then they go away. For me, that's not normally enough time to read what it's about. It's just long enough for me to get a glance at the logo and see who's sending it. Now, there are two things you can do if you want a little more time. The first one is you can do what I just did here, and that is click on this bulleted list right here. And now they'll stay there for a while until you click again, and you can kind of look through and see. Here, as you can see, this is one from Fox News. There are some others in here for different websites, and then it'll stay here until you click again. But what if you want to make it go away at a specified period of time? This thread has a link to an article describing how to change that timing if you're comfortable with the command line with terminal. Here's another one from CNET. As you can see, here are some trackers on the CNET page. There aren't a lot of them, but there are some there. But here's another one, changing the notification center banner in Mac OS X. Here is an idea how to do this. Now, if you're not comfortable in Terminal, and a lot of people aren't, Terminal gives me the hives, guys. I'll admit it. I've done a lot of stuff on computers. I've blasted a lot of data accidentally, and Terminal virtually gives me the hives every time I try to use it. So if you're not comfortable with Terminal, leave that alone. Take a look at the thread in the Mac Forum thread, and you'll see a link to a utility that will allow you to change that. The utility is from the same folks that do the maintenance utility, Onyx. So if you're comfortable with Terminal, have a look at this thread from CNET. It should get you going in the right direction. But if you're not, take a look at that Mac Forum thread and let that be kind of your guide, so to speak. Or just leave the timing the heck alone, kind of like I did. All right, now, Kurt the iTunes guy. I'm back to him because he's written a column for Macworld this week. As you can see, it's dated January 27th. That has to do with how to change and the best way to view your music by genre. I have several playlists that are by genre, several smart playlists, so that when I load a new blues tune into my library, it goes into that smart playlist, and I don't have to worry about tagging it and putting it in the right playlist. I can then look at my music by genre. I have a couple of artist-related playlists. My genre playlist, though, sometimes gets a little long. A couple of them have a few hundred tracks in there. So here are some ideas on how you can make that a little easier to view and scroll through. One of the ideas that Kurt uses, as you can see from this screenshot of his article, is that he, within that, instead of going into this mode that shows you all of the artwork and all of that, what he's done is he's taken these views and he puts his library and views it by songs, and then with the column browser visible, okay, by going to choose view and column browser. Now when he clicks, he can choose a genre over here on the left, then go here and choose an artist, and then an album, and then in the bottom pane you'll see songs. That can be an interesting way to navigate your way through a large collection of things. I'm going to put a link to this article because it's just a really quick thing to work through, and it's a very good description. And then also, he has a tip for tagging what season the episode of a show belongs to. So that's an interesting one to read as well. I haven't really experimented with that tag a little bit. The other one with putting things in Songview, I've used before. Songview is not my primary way of dealing with my iTunes library, but I do use it sometimes when I'm trying to snake my way through a large collection of stuff. All right, and before we close out the show for today, I want to show you something, and I'm going to show you a little video clip here. This article, which comes from, let me just scroll up here, our good friend Connor Carey, which tells me that it's got to be iPhone Life. All right, yes it is. All right, so this is how to type the temperature degree symbol on the iPhone. Let's say you're typing a message to somebody and you want to tell them that it is 38 degrees outside, and you want to be grammatically accurate and use the right symbol. This article will show you how to do it. And I'm going to just real quickly run a little video clip. It's a screen capture that I did earlier of my iPhone, and I'll show you how you do that. It's really very simple. All right, I'm going to clear a few things out of the way here that were hidden behind my Safari window, and I'm going to bring up this little video that I made. All right, and here we go. We've got, now as you can see, here's my main screen. I'm going to let this start playing, and as it's running, I'll comment on what I'm actually doing. I'm going to first open up something like Notes or Messages that brings up the keyboard, and tap to make that keyboard come up. Now, when you touch certain keys, all right, you're able to get secondary characters. Notice that what I've got here, I'm going to move this out of the way, and you can see, watch what happens. When I tap the E and hold it, I get some of the more accented varieties of E. As you can see, I did it before with N. All right, here is how I get that degree symbol. I'm tapping on the 0 and touching, holding there for a minute, and the degree option pops up. That's a quick, I always forget about this. I got ready to do a degree sign the other day for something, and I'm looking all through the emojis for that little symbol, and it's not there. or at least I never found it. And the reason I never found it is it's in something like this. This is a really simple thing, and it's so basic that I kind of forgot that was there. I don't use those symbols very often, but if you do need them, that's an easy way to get to them. Experiment a little bit. It should work in mail. It works in messages. It should work in basically anything where you have to type in some type of response. As you can see from our little video clip here, it works in Notes. So this is a good thing to know about should you need it. It's a real simple tip to use. Hopefully you found it really helpful. All right, and that's going to do it, folks, for me this week. Hope you've enjoyed the tips that we brought to you. I put this one together kind of on short notice. As I say, yesterday, things kind of went a little sideways on me. Hopefully that won't be happening again. I do want to mention, before we wish you good night, next week, it's Super Bowl weekend here in the States. Okay? I'm not even going to try to compete with the Super Bowl, guys. All right, so here's what we're going to do. I'm not going to do the show on Sunday night like we usually do. We're going to push it forward a day to next Monday. I'm not even trying to compete with the Super Bowl. So hopefully your favorite team made it in. Mine did not. Neither of the teams that I watch regularly made it into the game. I'm still going to watch the game anyway. There's always some good advertisements during the game. So that'll be interesting. Some of you know that one of the original and most iconic Apple commercials appeared during a Super Bowl. Some of you may remember that. You may be old enough to remember the commercial, actually. I am, which is kind of a scary thing. I don't remember seeing it that day. I think I saw it a week or so later in some news clip or something. But hopefully you'll enjoy the game. As I say, we'll be back next Monday. I'm not even going to try to compete with the Super Bowl. So until next week, guys, this is Sylvester Rock, a.k.a. Sly Dude in the forum. If you got a question, pass it on to me. I'm working on, probably here real soon, changing the format around a little bit. We have something and we may give it a try and see if it's a little more helpful but in the meantime, I will see you next Monday on the Mac Forum video chat. And if I don't see you there, look for me in the forum. And hopefully you'll enjoy some of the information we have there. And until then, I will see you next week, guys.